horse drifted alarmingly in the betting was, fancied in the morning, continued to drift. It was late on the exchanges to lose. It was something you'd see in a Dick Francis novel, Charles Buttons.
The ground is soft. It's
heavy.
It's soft on times.
It's heavy.
Okay.
And a big warm welcome to the Bar Stewards Inquiry Sunday Sermon. This is where we banish our sins and enter confession for this week's hot topics and also racing review. Yesterday we can go through the sins and the goods and the bads and make you all feel better about your losses over the weekend. Joining me tonight to chew the fat, as always, are my two regular partners in crime, John Lang of John Joe's Blogspot. Good evening, John.
Evening, Al.
And also joining me is Lorne Malvo, certainly not short of opinion and a great addition to this show. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening.
So we've plenty to talk about. We've got some interesting topics coming up, but of course, as always, we like to go through yesterday's racing. Well, a bit of today's racing as well, actually, and just chew the fat a bit on that. So I'm going to ask John to comment on a few incidents of yesterday. We'll not focus too much on the jumps because we're all bored with the jumps. And the 150 race, Dusart managed to win under Noodle Arms Nico. Noodle Arms Nico managed to get Dusart back up, beating, I thought, John, a very, very nice horse in Ruth Jefferson Sounds Russian. Has she got another waiting patiently on her hands?
Well, let's hope not, otherwise it'll be going somewhere else, won't it? No, I was impressed with that horse, really. I mean, despite the fact got beat by a horse that shouldn't even have been running. No, it ran really well, didn't it?
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? I think that they are too. I mean, Dusart is Dusart. We knew what Dusart was going into the race. We kind of know that it's a little bit better than 147, probably early 150s. Probably turn up in Ladbrokes next November. That's type of horse Dusart might be. But I just thought Sounds Russian were interesting because it showed that little bit of class to keep with it.
Yes,
and then have that little bit of foot to get in front of it. And I think it was only probably the class of Dusart that beat Sounds Russian on that day. I think Sounds Russian will just keep progressing and getting better and better. So I'm just really interested to see what happens with that because it's a horse.
He win one of them funky little races at Cheltenham in the autumn, couldn't he? Maybe.
Ruth's not had the best of times. I do think this could be a. Absolutely, a Nora of Wheat. To be fair, the tipping from the Bar Stewards Saturday wasn't disgraceful. I'll come on to John's in a bit because we've got Leopardstown to talk about in a bit. But I thought, on the whole, I didn't think we were too bad. Adam got Bermeo. We sort of got the forecast. I mean, I wanted mine to win. Fuck Adam. We did all right there. Dusart filled the hole. It was all right. There were no trees pulled up, but we wiped our nose a little bit, I think, on the between the three of us. So that's more or less it for air. No, it's not. The Scottish National. Good old Christian Williams, the Welsh Mafia, having the 1-2 job.
Yeah, that was interesting, wasn't it? Let's move on.
I pretty much concur with that, except John Stevenson's been on. He said, Kitty's Light got robbed in the Whitbread, unlucky in the Welsh National, and his owners then find that their own trainer is clobbering them with the other one. How would the Bar Stewards have taken yesterday's defeat if they owned it?
A bit like the 2009 Eber, probably.
No good. It's like dog racing when you plop one up and the trainer's got another one that's meant to be nailed to the floor and that takes off. It always leaves a sour taste, doesn't it, when the kennel or the stable mate wins?
Yeah, I mean, look, the Welsh have got some decent carrots there. I think them two could have gone round again. I think they won by 6 fences. Yeah, with another lap. So well done, the Welsh. They trained them throughout a season and managed to get lots well handicapped. And you never know when it's D-Day. So
it'll bring a 6-miler in. We're well fucked, aren't we?
I'm saying, win my wings. Jesus, it was sprinting. It was absolutely sprinting. The third horse I backed, Major Dundee, he's lazier than me, and but I mean, Wing My Wings went past that like Ajdal. And that was it. Goodbye. So well done, the Welsh. They've certainly had some of the Stain prizes recently. Certainly sewn up. So good luck on that. Okay, we've had enough of jumps now. I'm not even covering them. We're not going there. It's rubbish. So we're going to go Leopardstown job because there was some interesting trials on the flat on Saturday, and the Ballylynch Red Rocks 2,000 guineas trial was won by Dr. Zemf. Slightly slower time than the fillies race. I wasn't particularly impressed with that race. I just wondered what you thought.
I didn't think Dr. Zemf's come unannounced from last year.
Yeah.
I understand. I did think he was pretty set as a 2-year-old anyway. But I was rather disappointed with him physically. There was no improvement whatsoever, I could say, really. I think the overall form ball that out. I think he's run about 100 there to win that.
I was disappointed with the race. It didn't give me a good feel. I do think a lot of the Aiden O'Brien horses so far have been either short of fitness or maybe, I don't know. And a lot of them are just not quite running the races. So I'm not sure how much I value that form, to be honest, especially with the time being on the moderate side. So, yes, I think we'll take a negative view of that race between me and John. If he wasn't impressed with Dr. Zem physically, and I do respect John's opinion on the physical side of horses as they go from 2 to 3. So we go to the 1,000 guineas trial. That was the race won by Homeless Songs in over a second quicker than Dr. Zem. Certainly a more visually impressive performance. John, anything that you took from this race?
Well, I would say I was well impressed with the winner.
Yeah.
But, who wouldn't be, really? One I did take from the race as well was Panama Red, who finished last season on an upward curve. Didn't get the best of rides yesterday, but left a distinct impression there's more to come over a mile with this under a belt. I thought that horse ran a very eye-catching race. And the other one I took out of the race was Sigamia of Mr. McCreary's with Billy Layup. He must have thought he was sitting in a Ferrari turning in, and then all of a sudden he was sitting on Steptoe's car till the minute she pulled the horse out and she saw daylight. That is probably the biggest cunt I've seen since Katie Price had an accident with her knickers. To be honest, I absolutely climbed that. I would not let that run anywhere without sticking in a right short lay, because I think that horse is a bastard.
So we've gone from the sublime from John there in Panama Red to the absolute bastard of the equine world in Sigamia. Great interest.
I should have been second at least yesterday, and God, she didn't want a bar of that.
Interesting that, John. Also interesting that you like Panama Red, because that was the one I took out of the race. Drawn wide, could never get any cover really. Ended up sat sort of 7/8 down the field, and then was the only one really to pick up meaningfully from the back.
Yeah, and scope physically as well. And with the horse ending last year on an upward curve, I think she's quite interesting going forward.
Yeah. Never been a fan of chestnut fillies, really. I'm a bit like racist in terms of horse. I always think chestnuts. I don't know. I mean, they just seem. just chestnut. Diminuendo were a chestnut.
My cleaner's a chestnut, so.
So a bit of horse racism from me there. I don't like chestnuts. Imagine, it's weird. What a weird society we live in, though. Well, it's weird, is it? I mean, if I say, I don't like blacks or I don't like Asians, it's like, you get arrested. But I don't like chestnut fillies as a rule of thumb. Only because, like, on the stats, if you, I mean, anyone that's got Proform software, if you put in chestnut fillies and then look at the AE, it's like below than what? It's like 0.95, 0.94. So it's like chestnut fillies, whereas bays are like 1.02. But yeah, it's like Hitler's superhumans, isn't it? It's like, you know, it's
I run Prejudice, but I get off the Hitler subject, to be honest.
We want to be moving away from
only on the bar stewards. Anyway, yeah,
we do without the bar steward support Hitler theories.
What that Oswald Mosley was right. If you ask.
Yeah, he'll be on tonight. Peaky Blinders, 9 p.m. A bit of Oswald for any Nazis out there. But yeah, so I agree with John. Panama Red was the eye catcher, and I think Panama Red will be at least Group 3 this year, over 7 furlongs or a mile, preferably a mile.
Get the Clare all out and give her a rinse throw and make her into a bear.
Into a bear. Oh dear. Right, so we go on to the Ballysacks, won by Pisbadil, battling back after looking beaten by Buckaroo. What a great game that was for the baby Joseph and Shane Cross. I did think Buckaroo shaped like the best in the race for me. I don't think Pisbadil will beat Buckaroo again, but that's what I thought on that race, John. What's your take?
That's exactly what I said to somebody on Twitter yesterday. It might have been Golf Club. I thought Buckaroo was the one most in need of the race yesterday. I was absolutely cursing myself because I'd had my bet on Swan Bear, and then I was sort of half interested in Pismadale, and I had a little saver on it actually. When Buckaroo was ranging up there, I was absolutely cursing Buckaroo, the baby Joseph, for me picking the wrong one of the baby Josephs. Why it was his fault, I don't know, but it was. And I thought I'd got done twice. I think I was probably a bit lucky to get away with it. Pismadale did very, very well to battle back. I mean, I think he's in the 110 range in there for that. I think that was a good race.
Yeah, the fetus, John. The fetus.
Yes.
Get the fetus beating the baby Joseph.
Well, he had in Sissoko. He's rapidly becoming my favourite O'Brien living at the minute.
Could the fetus surpass the baby Joseph?
It's hard to say. And the baby Joseph's got a knack with 3-year-olds, and I think he's tend to come on for a run. So I'd be more inclined to judge end of the season rather than right at the start. Yeah.
So well done, the fetus. He managed to beat Buckaroo, but me and John both think Buckaroo is the one to take out of that. In the 420 at Leopardstown, the Leopardstown members handicap, I looked at the race and I was all over the favourite Brazil Power. I did think that would win and improve massively for the trip. I got that badly wrong. And in that race, John put out Action Motion of Andrew Oliver's for bar stewards, and I thought John was. Well, not robbed. It wasn't off, but that's not the. It was not today. I'm afraid for Action Motion in that, and I thought if anything, one to take out of the race as well was the second Enthrallment, which was penned in for a long way by Ross Ryan on the favourite, and Enthrallment probably would have won had he got out. And he's really one to follow over 1.5 mile and 3/4. It reminds me of a horse, John. Not necessarily the 3-year-olds can't get in it, but I'm thinking Ebo for Enthrallment as a 4-5-year-old.
Yeah, for sure. He looks a good type as well. I've got a good physical note on him. Another one in that race I thought couldn't do better is Bridgehead and Noel Maids. That didn't have the best of runs through, and did actually look to me as though it might just come on for the run a bit as well. So. Yeah,
trapped in on the rail, and it certainly got no daylight. But
I think it'd be an interesting race to follow that.
It is. Obviously, I mean, if you're dealing with like an early Leopardstown handicap for 3-year-olds, usually some nice types appear, and that looks the kind of race to follow. Just moving on to today, John, I don't know if you watched anything today or not, but there was a couple of points and note for me at Fairy House back over the jumps, would you believe? Mm-hmm. And there's a big woof woof award in the 3:30 at Fairy House today for the Chester Cup winner, Falcon 8. who strangely has got now, it appears, his own ideas about the game. I thought today he absolutely... I don't want to use the... Well, yeah, he cunted it. Completely.
He traced it.
Absolutely. I've honestly come there turning in, and there'd been a nice pace to run at, so there were no excuses for a horse that stays well on the flat. And he came there and he absolutely just said, no, thank you. He had tried to hang in twice, and he could have gone past at any point. And then when he got daylight on the running, decided he was just going to run up sides and just refused, which is quite weird, because after the winning the Chester Cup last season, you're thinking this is quite useful. Yeah. And then that was an absolute bang refusal today. He won't get better circumstances than that. Ground would have been in his favour, drying ground and everything. Yeah, so you cannot back Falcon 8 with Stolen this year. Cue a run of 4 wins on the bounce after I've said that, John. And certainly last but not least today, Declan Carroll of the Understarters Orders podcast, an excellent podcast. Declan has been on, of course, on our Cheltenham preview recently. And he says, if you factor in the amount of times Flame Bearer was stopped in his run at Fairyhouse today, how far would he have won the Supreme by? And then obviously the Champion Hurdle, because that's how it works. Some chaser he's going to be, says Deck. And I urge anyone to, if you've not watched a replay of that, please watch it. I think he's a special horse, Flame Bearer. He gave them weight as well today. And he's smart. He's really, really smart. He did incredibly well to win that. And a big horse, and like Declan says, will make a chaser. So Flame Bearer, obviously, I know it's obvious it's won. It's a bit of a blogger follower, but it's still worth watching, because you just think, how the hell has that won? And he managed. He must have an amazing amount of class and constitution to do that. So Flame Bearer, amazing stuff today at Fairyhouse. Okay, we shall move on to Jimmy Lindley. Normally we have this column at the end of the show, but I just felt, because we've just covered Leopardstown and stuff, it kind of just carries on with what we're talking about. We're not breaking off and changing to different subjects. So, John, anything? I've got one at Leopardstown that I think will be really good for listeners to go with early part of this season. You, anything that caught your eye on Saturday?
The only one I put a note on that you could call a Jimmy Lindley job would be Theophilos, who ran in the opener of Johnny Merters. But I think it's a very long-term project. Look very backward. It would probably need, I'd have said, about end of July, August time before he'll get this properly straight. Just a blatant not off ride yesterday.
In other words, then we sort of looking at like 2 more handicapping runs first, and
then it might still take a bit longer. You know, horses out with your bar with mare. I'd say Teofilo as a sire, probably mile and a half job. You know, you'd be pushing it to say be ready for anything like Ascot, but could be popping over to York or Doncaster August, September time maybe.
Good stuff. I like it when you spot one like that. So that one is a long-termer for John, Theophilos. That was in the opener at Leopardstown, the maiden there. So again, not one to back in the immediate, but in the longer term, says John. Mine was in the 4:55 race at Leopardstown, won by the very heavily backed Baby Joseph horse Haziah. I wish I was on that. Transferred from Mickey Halford to the Baby Joseph. Obviously got a nice, well-handicapped filly. What I noted about this race, though, it was quite slowly run. And there was a very, very big eye-catcher in behind in 8th place called Desert Wind, trained by Luke Comer. It was formerly with Ed Vaughan when it was trained in the UK. Now, what's interesting about Desert Wind is it's got split marks. So the handicap has definitely split them. So he's gone 92 all-weather, 84 on turf. However, and this is what's interesting, the former trainer just more or less started off on the all-weather. He never bothered with turf. So basically he ended up going as high as 98 on the all-weather. And then he actually won off 93 on the all-weather. And then so the handicappers thought, well, it's 0 from 10 on turf. So I'm splitting the marks. So he's got 84 on turf. Well, as long as it's on right ground riding on top, as in not soft ground, this horse will handle turf no problem. In fact, he's proven it in the past. He was fourth, for example, in the Britannia to Austilia back in 2018 off 92. So turf has absolutely got no problems whatsoever. Well, he's off 84 at the moment in Ireland, and you just wonder, finishing 8th, if the Irish handicapper might just drop him a pound or two, even to get down to 82, 83. But whatever, it was a race full of promise. He was sat last, made excellent late progress, and to be honest, I think he'd win nearly any decent handicap off this mark on turf. I'm that confident. I think he really is one to follow. He's still an entire. They've not gelded him, so he's pretty straightforward. He doesn't pull hard or anything. But obviously Leopardstown on the turning mile probably doesn't suit. Just something more of a gallop might. But I'm very keen to follow this horse this year. 84, he will make mincemeat of that mark, given the right conditions. So Desert Wind is a strong follower for me on the Jimmy Lindley going forwards. Very eye-catching run there at Leopardstown, a slowly run race coming from the back. So hopefully that will do some good for you listeners. On that, we move on. We'll break the show with some questions and bring Chris in, we've kept him in his box while we talk rubbish. And a question coming.
Boring.
It is. It's a boring service. We need to have some fun, which we're going to do right now. We're going to start having some fun. Yeah. Boxing Man's been on. He says, how long do you think Aiden O'Brien will carry on training? Any of you?
A long time.
Interesting question, though, isn't it? It would suggest that more than one person is thinking about, that he's not going to be around for too much longer. I haven't read anything or heard anything, but no evidence definitely about to turn it up, is there?
I just wonder if the fact that obviously they've lost Galileo, and they might be in for some stormy periods until things settle down with regards to their stallions. But it's still worth remembering that, and I think John will definitely echo this. They have the best mares by a continent. Over any other organisation, and I think that's the thing really as well. That it depends on the strategy. Do they spend more? Do they send their mares out? External. What do they do? What's the commercial strategy with Coolmore going forward? So they're going to have to spend a bit more cash. Sending the mares elsewhere. Or are they going to pursue with what they've got in their own armoury, Wootton Bassett, etc., etc. John, thoughts?
There could be in a period of transition. The big issue for Aiden O'Brien is how long he can stand the pressure, really, because make no mistake, that's a high pressure job. Because basically he's got 4 multi-millionaires breathing down his neck there, wanting him to create a champion every year. If there was any changes at Coolmore, I couldn't see it being in any direction other than one of the boys getting the job. And I think Aiden would still carry on training anyway, probably revert back to his old base and maybe just train 40 or 50.
Yeah. Do you think like if change did ever come, it'd be the baby or fetus?
Yes.
Yeah.
Not David O'Mara then. No, he's not.
He's out the picture now.
Yeah. David O'Mara's sat where he belongs, right next to Anthony Britton. Right where, Anthony Britton keeps him in check. Yes, at Northgate Lodge. There we go. For sure. Interesting to see what happens with that. But I'm pretty sure Aiden O'Brien will be there for a real good while yet. I don't think there's any changes foreseeable. But like John says, it's one of those, he's under pressure to deliver classic winners. And of course, the problem is at the moment that the Applebee's have the Zaruni juice, and they're in pole position. They've got the best candidates for the early classics. So we shall see what happens. Who knows? could work out totally different. Luxembourg could be the best he's ever trained. Has more speed than Mozart, as well as the staying power of Galileo. So there we go. The best. It's all to come. An interesting flat season ahead, but certainly an entertaining one at that. Okay, next question. Good one. This is from Jack, Punting Winners Jack on Twitter. He says, "How far will royal patronage have been Johnstoned by Donny Handicap Day in November? Number of runs by then, official rating, dead or alive. He wants all predictions from Barstewards. What we're saying, John? What's Johnston's plan?"
Well, I don't think it is Johnston's plan, because I think the interesting point about this horse, Harry Herbert's already stepped up to the mic and given us a bit of a song, hasn't he? He said, we're going to the Dante, and I think that's kind of stopped the kilt getting any ideas about a craven 2,000 guineas predominant stakes. Dante prep for the Derby.
Yeah.
So I think we're not going to have the campaign we possibly thought we might, which to me also indicates that Highclere thoroughbreds don't have terribly much in the locker this year, because if Harry Herbert's concentrating on one particular horse like that, he's not the type of man with the brain power or intellect to consider 2 horses a season. So I would think if this is his big hope, they're probably in for a bit of a testing season. But I could say that he'll try and make all in the Dante. 2, 3, 4 of them will swipe by that have a lot more speed. Joe will get off. No, he won't let Joe ride it, will he? Whoever rides will get off and say, oh, well, he was just keeping on, so they'll try and make the Derby a bit more of a stamina test. It'll be done by the foot of Tattenham Hill. He won't be able to resist Ascot. Harry Herbert will have lost interest by then. And then I think you'll see the usual Ascot, Goodwood again for the March Stakes, Ledger, probably the St Simon or Cumberland Lodge, and thank you very much, good night, if the horse stays injury free.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, look, young Charlie, I think, has probably definitely got more hands on this year, and they've made an encouraging start with the 3-year-old handicappers on the all weather. As I said,
handicapped early season. I wonder if that was their plan back end of last year when he was going to sort of take over, because they do seem to be running out their skins and they seem to be well treated, don't they?
Yeah, I think there was definitely something in the back of the Kilt's mind there for the old current bun when he took over, that he would land running, so there'd be no questioning of like his trading ability or like, hang on a minute, your strike rate's worse than your dad's, blah de blah. But yeah, I think there could have been some of that, Chris, for sure.
I think crediting him with so much sense.
Yeah.
He's had a lot of run trap at the back end of last year. He's landed himself with some well-handicapped horses. And when it all goes to shit about end of May time, I think they'll both be stood there blowing bubbles like goldfish, wondering what the hell.
Well, we'll hold you to that prediction. We'll set our diaries for sort of 1st of May. But you could be right. I mean, I probably do credit him a little bit more sort of savvy, but he certainly sort of hit the ground running. So whether by design or by dumb luck, who knows?
So Jack, you have the Barstewards view, and the chief Bastard there rather adamant that they'd be blowing bubbles like goldfish this season. So there we go. Any update on the National Stud shenanigans, says Andy McGee. No, I haven't, Andy, at the moment. My snouts are quiet. So if any snouts are listening to this pod, give me a shout on the latest. All brushed under the carpet expertly by Teddy Beckett, who's come in there, and it's more silent than I mean, John, I mean, this is unbelievable how this has never got out.
Teddy's closed it down like Norman Hunter, hasn't he?
Well, for a while, I had an investigative journalist from the Telegraph contacting me for more information, and obviously I'm only fed little tidbits from people that don't want to be named, so there's not a lot I can do. But
I thought she was on about a party I was at the back end of last year. I was shit myself when she phoned me.
Yeah. I spoke to her, so I don't know what you're fucking on about. So, national stuff. But, no.
Yeah, no, interesting stuff. A good question to finish this round of questions before we move on to some serious topics from Tory boy Councillor Woodman. He's been on and said, how does racing get away with having no female racecourse commentators in this time of diversity and equality, chaps? Why have we got no female commentators between you?
Well, it assumes that they're. I don't know. I mean, I'm no great fan of the industry, but I guess, I mean, it assumes by sort of implicit in his question that there are lots and lots of women that want to become racecourse commentators and are somehow prevented from doing so by structural misogyny. I don't know. I mean, I don't know whether there's a barrier to women becoming commentators. There certainly isn't any sort of barrier in terms of the terrestrial media. So I don't know, really.
John?
Do you think Lydia Hislop is disappointed that her life didn't take a different turn and she's not bellowing like a bull with a red hot poker up its ass like Mark Johnston is a furlong to go in a handicap at Southall? I think not. I think most women are far too sensible to get involved in shit like that. It's very much a boy thing, I think, and lads tend to.
But do you think there'd be a barrier to them doing so?
Absolutely not. They'd encourage it.
Yeah, I don't think there would be. I think the absence is that, as you say, kind of women don't really want to do it. I'm
gonna be. I might as well get the full box set for the show, haven't I? I've already been horse races, so I might as well become sexist on the same show. I generally feel, chaps, that when it comes to sports commentary, I think women make excellent pundits in terms of, I've heard them on cricket, golf, and football. Yeah, but not when it comes to commentary. I'm sorry, I can't have it. Right? The point is, when you commentate on a horse race, you're building up excitement for the listener, and that's not to say women aren't excited, but it's just the fact. Right? It's all to do with voice level. So everyone moans in racing about Mark Johnson because he shouts and screams, and the same thing. If a woman gets excited. Where am I going with this? If a woman gets excited, yeah, no. This is like we were going with this. So you know the voice pattern gets higher, right? So the voice pitch gets higher, and it doesn't sound like it's kind of grating. It's not like, for example, right? Tom Durkin, the great American commentator that did many Breeders' Cups, you know, he did the arr, arr, arr. Right. You know, you need that because when a male voice, which has got naturally lower tone, if you like, when he commentates, it's the fact that comes across when he gets excited, the pitch gets higher from a male because you're getting excited. All of a sudden, oh wow, this is happening. Oh wow, right? So it gets higher, but not too high. When a woman commentates, if you've ever heard on Match of the Day, and they celebrate a goal, and it's like the pitch is really high, and I genuinely don't think that's suitable for commentary. I think you start the pitch is normal and then it gets up to a certain level, and I think that's why women aren't commentators as a rule. And I'll give an example of this. Golden Gate Fields employed. Well, you know, she's a real good journalist. She tried her hand at commentating. She was called. Just doing my research. I think Angela Herman, and she was doing the Golden Gate Fields commentary for the last period of the meet to give her a try to see, you know, and she was dreadful. I'll say it as if she was good, she'd have been kept on. This is not about equality. I genuinely feel that women, as a rule, because of their pitch level, do not make good commentators. Because that's why I don't think Mark Johnson is a particularly good commentator, because Mark Johnson is too excited and too shouty. And I think that's where I've not heard a good woman commentator because of that. There's not been many of them to listen to, I suppose. Other people will argue, but I've heard enough in football when a goal goes in to go, no, that grates on me. So there we go. That's my stance. It might, people will go, what a sexist idiot, blah blah blah. No, it's not. It's just that's how it is. I like women pundits. Women had a lot in punditry in terms of knowledge, and I enjoy some women pundits on the golf and cricket. And cricket commentary is easy because it's a slow-paced game. You can commentate on cricket, no problem. But when a fast-paced game and you have to build excitement, the problem with women, they can build excitement, but the voice gets higher pitched and and screechier, and it just doesn't work. That's where I'm at. So we need a low tone voice. In fact, trans people. We've done everything this show. Let's go on to trans people. Trans people could then get a job, and instead of beating women by lengths in swimming pools, right?
They can often racing commentators.
They can often race because they've got the pitch. They've got the right tone of pitch. So that's it.
Trans people.
Yeah,
people. I'm up for it, not trans people.
Yeah, it's great for racing. Racing can fly its LGBT flag and say we've employed us first trans commentator, and that's it.
Mariella Frostrup's got a low voice, couldn't she, do?
Oh, you like
that?
Yeah,
absolutely. John, I know what you're thinking of with Mariella Frostrup. It isn't a voice.
You say you make an innocent suggestion, and this is where it goes.
Now, yeah.
We all know, John, like Lorraine Kelly. John, we all know. Can you see my growler?
That's a question for Katie Price again, isn't it?
Yeah, Lorraine Kelly live. Right, so we move on to
swiftly.
Swiftly after all that rubbish. You can skip that if you've got your bookmarks. But you've already listened to it. So ground time. Ground. Aintree watering dilemma as Clark ponders what to do this week, John. Like rain showers forecast all over the place. The going's firm hard in places. What's he going to do, John?
Well, he'll be a twat, won't he? And he'll stick water on. If this Farrago had existed in the 70s, red rum would never have existed. He probably wouldn't have won a national.
No. Mr. Frisk's rum will never get beaten, will it? Track record. Never get beat. No. We're going through a time where I'm afraid it's probably to do with the times we live in, where you can see with the gambling review, everything's safety, and safety's paramount over living. Really, we don't do this because we might die, or we don't do this because we might do our brains in.
For the fact that this is safe, what they're doing.
Yeah,
that's the point. I mean, loose on top, tendons wrenched left, right, and centre. And it'll be classed as injured on good ground, so we need it softer.
Yeah, and it's. I mean, we've had a few comments on this from listeners, and Gurney's been on saying, Bucky's saying that racing is uncompetitive just because the jollies went through the card. It's basically good grounds making it easier for punters. Same as Philbo Bagshot saying that 11 favourites winning at the Scottish national meeting. Like on good ground, etc. I mean, a lot of punters looking at the psychology maybe that the watering to get the change in results. And it's interesting because I sent you chaps some stats earlier on this, and it's from 2010. The state of the ground on actual time-based ground since 2010, and the stats are quite damning in terms of, if the ground is good or quicker, you basically, you'd make money on Betfair blind, backing each favourite. So that's an incredible statistic when you think about it, how difficult racing is to win at. Well, and this is after 2% commission. So if you started in 2010 with £1 win on every favourite on good ground, time-based good ground or better. And I know people say, well, how do you know it's good ground after one race? Well, you'd have to look at one race, wouldn't you? And then hope the favourite wins first if it is good to soft, so you stop it there. But yeah, so 257 points profit. So you'd be 257 quid up on good or better ground. And so you do the opposite just to make sure it's not like a trend. If you do it on turf, this is flat only, remember, since 2010, a pound win on each favourite on good to soft or worse. The result is you lose £704 on Betfair SP. So, I mean, the results are damning. Clearly, good ground or better, genuine good ground or better, suits punters. That's a fact. That's a betting fact. That's since 2010. That's massive. That's a lot of data. In fact, the number of horses analysed, 44,392 favourites. So we're not talking about, a few favourites have gone in. 44,000 favourites analysed. You make 257 quid if it's good or better. Backing them blind. No expertise, no info, no nothing. So it shows you that, I'm afraid, you could argue that some punters are right to be sinister, that this watering is not. Don't forget that who are the tracks owned by, John? Some of the tracks owned by.
Well, exactly. It just goes to show the old adage, doesn't it? If the ground is good or quicker, it's worth a couple of knicker. If the ground is good or slower, make sure your stakes are lower.
Absolutely brilliant. Bingo. Yeah, that's the Bar Steward slogan going forwards. Yes, that's it. When you're moaning about your punting times, that's a good one to come back to. And the stats bear that up. So no matter what people say, conspiracy theorists going about, it's to conspire against punters. Well, I'm sorry, the stats are there. And bookmakers scream for rain. They want false results. Derby Dazzler's been on. He says, can you discuss horses getting pulled out on good to soft? I mean, we take the piss out of watering, but what are they actually aiming at if that's the case? Or is the declared going just totally pointless now the clerk is too busy eating his butties in the morning, John?
Well, I think that's a fair point, because we had this last week where we were saying a 7 o'clock going stick riding means very little really in relation to what serious punters want to know. I would imagine probably 10 to 20% of racing professionals, the trainers, actually do give a monkeys what they're running their arses on. And if they walk a course and decide it's not for them, they're going to pull out. Whether it's good to soft, whatever. I mean, we had a spate of withdrawals yesterday at Newbury. I take it he hadn't watered, or had he watered down to good to soft or something?
Yeah, I think basically too quick. That was the thing. That was but again, I think it comes from the trainers as well, because obviously they don't want. They've got this view now that national hunt horses don't want to be risked on anything like decent ground, and that's where we're at. So maybe it's not just the clerk's fault. It's trainers as well that are screaming for a certain type of ground.
There's a lot of in there that just think, oh, it's not safe, it's good, it's quicker, and half of the time they're just looking at their house and thinking, oh, can't risk him. For me, I think good ground should be fine for any horse, really.
He should, as long as there's no firm in the description for national hunt horses.
Well, unless you've bred an absolute raspberry that's got shoulders like Mike Tyson and slobbering the fucking ground like a pneumatic drill, I mean, for God's sake, they're bred to be hardy, sturdy runners, for God's sake.
Well, that's the other thing, John. I always thought summer jump racing as well, and I always count sort of like after Cheltenham spring summer jump racing, right? Yeah. I always thought that was helped a lot of the flatbreds, helped a lot of the, because they don't go on the winter suit. So the winter suit brigade, with, like you said, John, with the heavy shoulders and the weighing 520 kilos, you put them away until next whatever, and it's now is the time for for horses a bit lighter on the feet, lighter frame types to probably enjoy it. Some. Yeah, it's anyway. That's that. Yeah, I agree with all comments on this. So I've got some good comments. Sean Powell says, "Can all weather be transferred to grass?" We're different on this, John, aren't we? We want all tracks to be all weather.
Yes, I can't make a case for grass the way it's currently managed. Sorry. I would happily have every course in the country tapeted.
Yeah, no, we have touched on that before, and as long as it's sprayed green, I think I would cope. Yep. Nothing wrong with spraying it green. It gives you that feel. It gives you that turf look.
You're not make it purple, to be honest.
What, like the purple rinses?
No, I just think there was something wrong with me telly then, and
Exactly.
Right. Okay. We'll move on to the Bryony Frost issue, which, of course, if you've not picked up a newspaper or you've not managed to catch up, that the appeal of Robbie Dunne was heard this week and was reduced to 10 months from an initial, was it 18-month ban, chaps? I think it was initially. It was. Down to 10. And Robbie's free to ride from the start of the next National Hunt season official, which is October the 9th at Crapster. Now, obviously,
I bet him to become champion jockey next season.
More rides than ever. So interesting. I would like to hear both your thoughts on this, please, chaps. I know you've got good views on it. So, Chris, I'll come to you. What's your view on this whole affair, and especially the cut down in appeal?
Well, it's I think you should find it under disappointing. I wouldn't say that the reduction in the sentence was inevitable, because your regular correspondent Chris Poole was sending to bugles and after timing comments. But I think Helen Sheridan made a very good point, and she sort of said in the sort of civil litigation world, if you go to the High Court and you get a judgment that you think and you get leave for grounds for appeal, you go to the Court of Appeal. If you don't like that decision and you get leave to appeal, you can go to the Supreme Court. Now, as you climb the legal totem pole, the rule of thumb is that the quality of judges that you get will be better. They'll be more eminent, more experienced. The higher you get, the cleverer you get, until you get to Supreme Court, where in theory you have, the UK's finest legal minds. And what seems to have happened here, with no real disrespect to any of the individuals, is that the quality dropped off in terms of the panel that were asked to consider the appeal. So what you had is a panel of non-specialists. I think there was a tax lawyer there as well. Great if you're doing company corporate mergers and acquisitions, but not much good when you're considering, effectively injury to the person. So I think the downgrading or the reduction in the penalty is a symptom of the fact that the panel wasn't as good as the first panel. And that's, to put it in very crude terms. So I think it's really disappointing, sends a bad message. And of course, you will see, as sure as eggs is eggs, that when Robbie Dunne comes back, there'll be millions of trainers wanting to support him. And conversely, Bryony Frost has had a real downgrade in the quality and number of her rides. But everyone will rally around Robbie Dunne. I bet you bottom dollar.
Yeah. No, I agree with most of what you've said there, Chris.
Most. What do you mean most?
Yeah, most. Not quite all. I'll come on to my reply at the end. John?
Well, I'm going to be a little bit contrary on this.
Oh, we like contrary.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about this at the time, when the original sentence was passed, I thought, yes, good enough for him. He's clearly been a right bastard.
Yeah.
And then I read the reports from the trial, two excellent pieces by Lydia and I think it was Lee Mottershead that wrote the other one that I read.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. And then I consulted a legal guru who I happen to know from way back when. And I discussed things with him, because as I tend to do with most things legal, especially involving myself. And I said, what did you think about the reduction in the sentence? And he said, well, rather than just as a standalone case, he said, compare it with the O'Shane Murphy ban, where he's got a year, Dunne's got a year and a half, and then look at it from the view of both panels and say, well, Murphy endangered people's health and safety, COVID and drink, lied for 3 or 4 months about it, and basically won the Jockeys' Championship by cheating. Did he deserve a ban that was 66% of the Robbie Dunne ban when Robbie Dunne has had an admittedly prolonged altercation with a weighing room colleague? And take into account the both PGA members, the PGA and the BHA didn't have a code of conduct at the time written up. The PGA chair quit shortly after the first verdict. I think on balance, I think we could have expected this ban to be reduced. I'm not saying it's right, but I think when you look at the wider picture and how long some bans are for, you take that into account.
Yeah.
I think 12 months is probably what we maybe should have been expecting.
Yeah, no, it's fair comment. Very fair comment. I wanted to touch on more about Bryony's riding since this has all took place, and I will publish these stats on the Bar Stewards Twitter, so you can look, so everyone can look. But I think the last 2 seasons have been markedly poorer than the previous 3, and especially this season, where she's just 10% January, February, March. She's been as high as 23% January, February, March 2018, 2019, 2020. Soon as this shit's hitting the fan, I genuinely think she's been affected. And I've watched her riding the last few months, actually. And honestly, I think she's regressed as a jockey. I'm not afraid to say it. I don't know if it's this case that's playing on her mind, or if she's just lost the heart or the will for it, or whatever, or what it is. But there's something in these stats that aren't just random.
Is it not the rides? Do you think could it be a combination of factors that she's not getting on the better horses now, and as opposed to just her sort of falling out of love with it, or do you think purely something going on between her ears that she doesn't fancy it anymore?
Yeah, pretty much that, because the expected wins are not right on par. Okay. Like her average over expected is 0.62 this year. She's 5 winners below where she should be, right. Which is quite high in 3 months of riding to be 5 winners out of where you should be on expected stats. There's a clear trend difference in the last 2 years in her riding, and it's gradually got worse. The pattern's like continually going downwards, and I'm of the belief that this has affected her more than probably what she'll let on and what people will let on, because as we know, confidence when riding is everything. That confidence to make the right decision at the right time, the confidence to the horse that you give as a jockey, everything about it. I just think if you want to be there and you enjoy your job and you're thriving and you're busting and you're trying, it'll add another 10-20% to your game, and I reckon she's lost a merger, and that's where I'm at on this.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen her, albeit not with your expert eye, I've seen her ride some shockers this season, whereas previously you could almost guarantee that she'd be giving a horse a good ride, but I've seen her put some horrible rides together. So she certainly isn't the jockey that she was, for sure, whatever the reason.
No,
Sorry, I think she's trying to ride like Kung Fu before he was allowed to leave the temple.
Before he ended up in a cupboard in Thailand.
No, you know where they rolled out the race paper?
Yes.
And he had to walk the race paper without leaving a footprint.
Yes.
she's riding like that. She's trying not to leave a footprint. She's keeping out the way.
Mm.
And I've even noticed it in races where she's led. She's got the fence. She's not deviated. She's not going anybody's way. Horses dropped back, and she's just fizzled out and kept a straight line and everything. I just get the impression she's lost all the confidence.
Yeah, that competitive edge is gone.
Yeah, the mojo ain't there.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be a biggie surprise if she ended up, sort of saying that's it, enough's enough, and that would be one in the eye for the BHA, to be honest, if she did that, because I think, and for racing, because I think that's basically saying to people, look, this is what's happened. I feel like I've been forced out. I feel like I've not had the support that I needed. And
you see the outcry, not outcry, it's not the word, the support that Robbie Dunne received from within the weighing room would tell you that 90% of the weighing room didn't think he was on dodgy ground by what he was doing anyway.
No.
Due to this lack of a code of conduct and a lack of rules, discipline, professionalism even, within that weighing room, and that is down to the PGA and the BHA for not bossing it to start with, which it should have been. Should have been bossed for years, hasn't been. People like Dunne act like that because some fucker lets them, not because they're just mavericks and do as they like.
No, it's because it's okay.
It's a prevailing culture.
There's nothing weird about what he's doing. Like, we all do it. It's been done since time immemorial. What's the problem? This is how the weighing room operates.
Exactly.
That's the problem, isn't it? And I think
that's what wants cleaning up, not banning jockeys for X amount of time. It wants stopping. Yeah,
I think you're right. The imposition of a code of conduct, proper policing, but you have to wonder what kind of people, what kind of families, what kind of strata of society do these people come from where they think it's all right? You don't need rules and regs to well, I hope you don't need rules and regs to tell you how to behave like a decent human being. So you've got to wonder, haven't you, what kind of people are these characters? I don't know.
Well, exactly. I mean, I debated with somebody not so long ago about the existence of God, and this person I was debating with said, well, if there was no God, no bad, you could murder and rape as much as you wanted to. And I said, well, I do. And he said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, I rape and murder as much as I want to, which is not wrong.
Yeah, which is not at all.
No. So,
this sense that you need rules to keep a lid on a boiling cauldron or pressure cooker of sort of lust and bad language is nonsense. Most decent people know it's not okay to bully colleagues, terrorise colleagues, and and humiliate them. I don't need rules to tell me not to do that. Well, I hope not, anyway.
Clearly they do.
Well, that's my point. What kind of people need to be told not to do that? You think, fucking hell.
Yeah. No, I mean, superbly summed up by you two there, I think, on Bryony Frost. Some stats to add there as well. I'm going to close the show off now. We've outrun our time. Just to remind you what's coming up this week. There's a Bar Steward special coming up on the Gambling Review, and joining me is Tory Councillor and Secretary to Andrew Bridging, Andrew Woodman, and Nick Phillips from Gambling Guardian. We don't do echo chambers on the Bar Stewards, so listen lively for that. That's coming up on Wednesday. And as normal, we are back with Friday with our Aintree Grand National Outlook. And we're back next Sunday, us three, talking more bigotry, sexism, racism and Nazis. Hope you enjoyed this show, and we'll try and match it again next Sunday. I enjoyed it. That's all from me, John and Chris. Bye for now.